All right, so 12 hours after our last live stream, I mean, we were live at 3:40 in the morning talking about Correa possibly becoming a Met, and now 3:40 in the afternoon, it is true. Yes, it is damn true. Carlos Correa is officially a New York Met. Passes
Whoa,
confirmed
not
it.
official.
Everybody
Not
confirmed it.
official
He's
yet.
got to pass his
No,
physical.
that's
No more fake physicals, no more medical problems. Get the physical done. Get the press conference scheduled right away because the press conference is more important than the physical in order for deals to be official. And again, deals in MLB are now over when Steve Cohen has the approval. When Steve Cohen says, okay, you're allowed to sign this deal, then teams make their final decision. So it still hasn't quite set in yet. It still is just extremely exciting. I'm just so happy that they were able to pull this off. He was the guy. You know what I mean? Like, they've made a lot of moves. They've made a lot of very good moves, but when we talk about improvement from last year, we said one more big bat. Power protection for Pete Alonso. One more big bat. Carlos Correa is that big bat. So, Andrew, if we've had a little bit of time to rest, a little bit more time to ponder about the schematics of it, how are you feeling now 12 hours later?
it's still it still feels surreal to an extent, but God, does just everyone hate it who's not a Mets fan, and I love it. Like we have become that. We'll use a little. We are MJF, and everyone else is mid. Like this is what it is. We are the top dog in this game. No longer the Yankees. No longer hell, even the Dodgers. If a free agent's available, there's one team that gets talked about first, and it's us. And the fact that he just sneaks in Hawaii, he's got his little, mimosas chilling out in Hawaii. Scott gives him a call. Hey, you want Correa? Yeah, sure. Throw 3 bands, whatever. Cool. Whatever. Get it done. And the fact that, again, just the Giants fumbling the bag here because everything we're seeing, it's not, oh, he's actually injured. It's kind of the Giants getting the cold feet and Cohen saying, you know what? I'll take it. He was pissed off. He couldn't get him a week ago. He wasn't going to mess up the second time. And the fact that he's a Met and now I slept maybe 2 hours. Obviously we went live and then I was wired. I got like maybe 2.5 hours after the fact, but it's still surreal that the World Baseball Classic is literally, hey, practice for them to actually play at Citi Field in blue and orange. That home opener went from I was looking at tickets for the home opener 2 days ago. They were already at standing room only. That place is going to be rocking in hell. And we're playing the Giants in April this year. I'm the April 4th. We go to Oracle. So that'll be fun.
April 20th. Or do they play the Giants in Citi Field early in the season as well? Are both Giants series in
I
the
thought it was
beginning of the
April
year?
20th. They go to Oracle. I thought I saw
Yeah,
that.
April 20th they go to Oracle. So I don't know when they come to Citi Field. Doesn't really matter because again, like you said, they just keep going. And what I find very interesting is that Steve Cohen is the guy who got this deal done. You know what I mean? Billy Epler, it looks like he wasn't really involved in this. It was more so just directly Boris and Cohen talking because they didn't like what was going on with the Giants, the way the Giants were handling it, maybe getting a little bit of cold feet, trying to make up some BS with the contract and the physical. Maybe they're trying to alter deals, say, oh, we saw something on your physical. We can't give you 350. We have to give you something else, 300, 320, whatever. I mean, maybe the Giants were trying to do something like that, and Boris said, oh, you want to try funny business? Watch this. Cohen's going to give us whatever we want and nothing, and that's it. So I just find it very interesting that Cohen, while he's on vacation, was like, you know what, screw the vacation. I really want Carlos Correa. And we had that article, with John Hammond saying that it was a big priority for him. He kind of was feeling a little bit like he had a bit of a, oh, man, I really should have got him. I really didn't go all in to get him. I kind of regret it a little bit. And I just wonder, when that started. Was that a week before Correa signed, a couple days before Correa signed? That Cohen was like, oh, we really, really want him. I felt like they could have got him earlier, you know what I mean? So I'm glad this happened, but I just wonder what happened where Cohen was just like, you know what, I really need this guy. Maybe he kind of saw that as they were signing all these players, your Verlanders of the world, your Sangas, Robertson, Nimmo, Diaz, whatever, you're still seeing a lot of that brass. Oh, it's the same team. They haven't really improved from last year. They only scored 1 run in a game against the Padres. Had a game they scored no run against the Padres in the playoffs. They still need that big bat, And then Cohen's like, you know what, Correa. And again, I think Lindor had a big thing to do with this. Lindor probably went to Steve and was like, you know what, Steve, I think we really need this guy. He could really help our team out. And then as he thought about it, he agreed. Let's see. Yeah, no, exactly. He still has to take our physical. I feel like the physical is fine. I just think the Mets, you would hope the Mets wouldn't do the 12 years, 315 if there was anything wrong with him physically at all. So it's really awesome. Yeah, no, the names being discussed, Liam Hendricks. Yeah, this is one of the top things we're going to get into. And do you have anything you want to talk about, just like the actual acquiring of him, like the negotiation aspect, what happened between the beginning of the offseason and now, where Steve Cohen kind of changed his mind, like, I got to do whatever it takes to get this guy?
Yeah, I think the Mets made it clear, especially that they had no rotation and no bullpen, that they were going to focus first on pitching. Because again, you have Max Scherzer, and at the time, Carlos Carrasco was a question mark if they would pick up the option. And in your bullpen, you had Drew Smith. Well, yeah, they needed to fill those holes before they could even get to a Brandon Nimmo, which you saw. They went out and did a lot of heavy lifting with pitching. And also the other thing, which everyone's been saying, is once the winter meetings hit, like the fact the Padres got nuts and got Bogarts and was trying to get Turner and Judge, the fact that the Phillies went out and spent big money on Trey Turner, Tom Walker, one of those is going to be all right. We'll see about the other one. His mind just said, hey, because Andy Martino, as much as we hate him, we were watching, obviously, I guess you guys were watching the SNY half-hour thing they did like at 7:30 this morning. Cohen didn't want to go over 300 this year. That was his plan, that he didn't want to go over $300 million. He could have been like on the funds. And then once the winter meetings hit, he said, screw it. And the fact that now we're talking about Carlos Correa, we're still talking about Liam Hendricks. Like, if you're going to go over it, and he made it clear, you don't just go over by a couple million. You go over it, you are blowing past it. And he has baseball. If this works, who knows what baseball looks with future owners like the Dodgers, the Yankees. If the Mets go out and win, let's say hypothetically, the Mets do go out and win the World Series, and this works. Does this maybe tell the Dodgers and the Phillies and all these other teams that have the money to spend, they need to do this? And then this would be – spending money is good for baseball. Like the fact that we have only a couple of owners consistently, the Padres guy, he's all in. Obviously, Cohen, the Phillies seem to be all in. But then you still have the poverty franchises like the Royals and the Guardians, who are still good. But imagine if Cleveland went out and spent money. Imagine they had $150 million. So let's not even get to luxury.
Same thing with the Rays. The Rays put together like great season after great season while keeping an extremely low payroll. Like if they actually spent to get big time stars, I don't know. I think unless they implement a salary, or they got to do a cap and a floor. That's the only way they could solve this. If they don't do that, you'll have Cohen feels like the penalty is only money. I'll just keep going. And these other teams, they're not forced to do anything. They're not required to spend money. So if they want to just do a whole bunch of nothing, that's what they'll do.
Yeah. And I guess getting back to the point of what Cohen, once that winter meetings hit, he just said, you know what? Let's go over Senga, Robertson, once the pitching, and obviously Nimmo. Then he said, you know what? He needed that one bat, and we said it. They need that one bat. They need to put that 5-hole hitter, or we'll talk about maybe lineup construction. Maybe we're seeing them MLB Network put him in the 2-hole, and McNeil and Marte hitting 5 and 6. So there's plenty of whoever 1 through 6 in this lineup. It's gonna be pretty damn good. But yeah, now this was.
No, I was just get the feeling that Lindor and Correa are going to want back-to-back. I don't know why. I just get the feeling that they're going to want to hit back-to-back.
I mean, hell, if you want – I mean, I'm down to do Nimmo, Lindor, Correa, Alonso. I'm down to do that.
Yeah, and then to put Marte after Alonso.
Put McNeil, Marte, or I like Starling Marte in the 9-hole. I really like Marte, that second leadoff hitter. Because,
I don't think McNeil there either.
McNeil, either take your pick if you want. Yeah. I like Marte there. Because obviously with the ground ball problem, we said Nimmo will draw a walk, and then Marte hits a double play. No. Having him get on with the shift, and let him actually steal the bases in front of Nimmo.
In front of yes.
And then you can have Correa or Lindor hit 2 or 3, and then boom, now you've got something going. So I'm not against having Marte in the 9 spot or McNeil. Take your pick. I think they want to keep McNeil in the middle of the lineup. I think Marte being that second leadoff hitter at the bottom of the lineup would make sense. I mean, yeah, we're gonna add Ohtani at the deadline, so we'll have fun then. But
yeah. Essentially, that's the thing, that because they have, like, we talk about all these like leadoff hitters or whatever, a lot of guys could go in so many different spots. You know what I mean? Like Nimmo could go 1, he can go 9, Marte could go anywhere, McNeil could go anywhere. So they have that flexibility. I mean, I feel like it might be something they experiment with a little bit. Like they might try one thing, and then they could. It doesn't, like, once you set one line, that doesn't have to be a line for the rest of the season. They could always mess with it. But it seems like I have a feeling that They're kind of going to stick with what they had with because once they found that combination of Nimmo, Marte, Lindor, Alonso, and they didn't change it at all, I feel like they probably want to keep that. And again, the main reason why I wanted Correa was to protect Alonso. So I just think that it defeats the purpose a little bit if you don't bat it behind Alonso. I think it makes such a big difference because Alonso was the main contributor for this team. He carried the team a majority of the time offensively. And then it's just that if you have Darren Ruff batting behind him or Mark Vientos, you could walk Alonso. You don't have to pitch to him. But if you put somebody like Correa behind him, more teams are forced to face Alonso, and then Alonso gets to have an even better season. So I just think it adds so much to this lineup.
I mean, I know Carson was like propaganda 2 years ago about 2-0 Alonso. What if you went Nimmo, Alonso, Correa, Lindor?
You could do that, yeah.
And then
I don't mind that at all because I'm perfectly okay having Alonso hit higher in the order. We know now that the numbers say your best hitter should bat second. You get the biggest high leverage spots. You get the most opportunities, most RBI opportunities. I don't mind that at all. I think that works pretty well. You could, like you said, you could do Lindor third, you could do Correa third, and then you have the other guy fourth, Marte fifth, and McNeil sixth. You have so many things you could do, and I think it's all a matter of we're going to get into what's going to happen with Beatty, what's going to happen with Canna, with Vogelback, with Escobar. It could just be a lot of spring training battles. Let's say that Vogelback and Escobar have the great spring trainings. Okay, I mean, they're going to be your DHs. If it's, Canna and Vogelback, that's going to be your left fielder and your DH. If it's Beatty and Escobar, there's just a lot of different ways they can go about it if they don't trade anybody. I mean, again, I think Beatty, the only person I'm trading for is an Ohtani level or something like that. For Escobar, the only trade I really have him in is the Liam Hendricks trade. On that, I feel like they probably could keep him as a utility guy, a backup in case anybody ever got hurt. Because you see people, there's something wrong with Correa's medicals. Correa's got hurt plenty of times in his career. Okay, well, at least you still have Escobar on the roster just in case anything happens, those short IL stints and things like that. So, but we'll see what they end up deciding because I know Mike Merritt tweeted that Beatty looked perfectly fine in left field. So I would like to see Beatty getting those reps in left field in spring training. I really would like to see that. This way, he can just learn that position a little more. So in case his bat does come along, he'll already be kind of comfortable in left field.
Yeah, and you know me, I'm going to defend. And the fact that I laughed at the last 12 hours, rightfully so, this fan base has treated Brett Beatty like he's he's not going to say his name. I'm not. I was going to say it. I'm not. I'm saying the Mets have treated him like he's Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Just give him away for a box of cookies. This is still one of the best prospects in baseball. Yes.
Top 30 in baseball?
Top 20. It was top 20 prospect. Yes. Is it sexy to have Carlos Correa? Yeah. Is he taking his primary position? He could easily go out and play left field. And what do the Mets desperately need? They need a corner outfield. They need some outfield prospects. Yeah. And if Brett's bat is still what I think and most people think is, that's another 20 homers, as good as Mark Cannon is. But we've said some concerns that the regression has come. He's getting older.
Yeah.
Beatty's not going to be a Gold Glove outfielder. We know this is not.
He wasn't going to be a Gold Glove third baseman either.
Exactly. He can be a serviceable glove. That's what we hope. Be an average guy. Be Mark Cannon. Catch the ball. Do the Harlem Shake when you catch the ball. Right. Just catch it. Don't be Dom Smith. But if his bat is anything to how it translates to every level of the minor leagues that he was. You could have bet him eighth in this lineup? This scenario.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, maybe he bats ninth.
I'm not saying this. He's not the player I'm saying this, but he can be kind of the Mets.
I like this one. This is a good one right here.
We'll get to him in a second.
That's a good one, Webs. I like that.
Yeah. Could he be kind of like the Mets version of Kyle Tucker to an extent, where everybody's so deep, you forget Kyle Tucker's in that lineup. Yeah. You forget, and this is a guy. I mean, I'm not saying Beatty this year's hitting 30 homers and driving 100, but down the line he can be that, especially with the short porch in right field now. Beatty does have that great opposite field power, just left field. He can hit now with the Great Wall of Flushing down, but now he's going to be pulling the ball with a shorter porch. Beatty can be that 25 to 30 home run guy in the outfield and left field. I get it. Again, Correa's third base. Everyone automatically, no, Beatty's traded. The Mets don't need a left fielder as good as Mark Canna was.
Because Canna, I mean, they could decline that club option. He's a free agent at the end of the year. You need a long-term left fielder because, like we said, the left field, the infield is locked up. if you extend Alonso, first base is locked up. I don't think Beatty's going to play second. If you do, even if it's like a short extension, McNeil, let's say it's 5 years, McNeil will be your second baseman. And then it's like, okay, your Nimmo's going to be 8 years in center field. Marte still has quite a bit of time out there in right field. So really, left field would be the one spot that there is a long-term opening. There's nobody coming out that's going to become a left fielder. So I think that Beatty as a long-term left fielder, that could be a thing. But they got to get his bat in the line and just see if he's ready, see if he is going to translate to be what they project him to be.
And I think I brought this up I don't know if it was the podcast or the video. He could just start in left field in AAA. And that's like, even if Eduardo Escobar isn't here, like, obviously we're going to talk about the Mets still interested in the bat, which we'll talk about some guys we want. What if Beatty spends the first 3 months of the AAA season in left field every day? It's all of spring training. He gets all, let's say, 2.5 months. If he goes to AAA, and yes, he only got 4 days in AAA this year. He goes over to AAA and is playing every day, getting better in the outfield. And he starts like mashing like he did in AA when it was like in June and July where he's mashing. And let's say Canada does struggle like we expect. After giving him some time to learn left field, playing every day, it's just another, as I say, it's a trade deadline, but you have it. We're like, you have Canada. You have a conservative player there now. You can let Brett develop in left field. And if the bat, and he's already homered, like, we make the joke about like Alvarez. Beatty's already hit 2 homers in the big leagues. Like, he's like, I get it. It was Alvarez.
More than Ruff, it doesn't, Matt.
He's got more than Ruff. He's got more, James McCann this year. Like, when Alvarez is supposed to be the power bat, Beatty came up and hit. Yes. Was he great? No. He was showing signs before he got injured, looking back to being Brett Beatty. And then, of course, he gets the injury with the hand, and then he misses the rest of the year. But he started to see in that Colorado series, okay, there's Brett. He's starting to go the opposite with the power. Obviously, he pulls the homer in the right center. You started to see that. If he's in AAA to start the first couple of months, learning left field, and you just let Canada go out, maybe they sign a fourth outfield, a platoon potentially, and Marte, Nimmo, there's gonna be an injury, a DL stint somewhere. Then you move Canada right, and then you can move Brett and get him in the everyday lineup. We'll see with the fourth outfielder. I just think I get Brett. Has been not crazy. Goodbye, Brett. Like, Ohtani's coming. Well, he's coming. We know we want Ohtani, but that's not happening until July. So we have these months to go before we even get to spring. We have 2 months before we get to spring training, and we're already talking about Shohei Ohtani. It's good to have depth. You look at the Dodgers. They seem this year maybe not so much, but throughout most of their time, they have depth everywhere. And it's okay to stash some guys in AAA. Especially with the pedigree of Brett Beatty.
And I hope they do the same thing with Alvarez, because it's like we said, I want Alvarez to be our catcher of the future, because I want to get elite offense production from the catcher position compared to what we've been getting. And if Narvaez is going to be here and Nito is here, McCann has to go. Alvarez, he's not going to be able to develop as a major league catcher if he's not catching. So if they want to start Brett in AAA and left field so he could warm up there, let Alvarez catch some more AAA pitching, because he's another guy that didn't get to spend much time in AAA either. So he didn't really get that full experience. If they let both of those things happen, and then second half, those guys are ready to go, ready for the big playoff run, and they feel like they could be meaningful contributors and the starters at those respective positions, then they could call them up. I think it's just a little safer to have Narvaez catch, and then have Marcano play left, and just to start the year. And then you could kind of make your adjustment. Like you said, it could be an injury or something, and then Alvarez has to play. But as much as it'd be cool to see Alvarez be a DH, maybe even like Beatty and Alvarez DH every now and then, I still want these guys, as far as like long-term success, I want Beatty getting reps in left field. I want Alvarez getting reps at catcher. Yeah, and exactly. Vientos is the guy that he has to be moved. I mean, because we've said a long time Vientos should have been a trade chip. He didn't really have much of a fit on this team. Now with Correa here, he really, really doesn't have a fit. So, and if we talk about if Alvarez is going to be DHing, it's just more so Vientos just does not have a fit on this team. And that's why I think, Chicago, they lost Jose Abreu. Mark Vientos could be a pretty nice, guy who plays first base for them. He'd actually have a home there. So if you want to do Mark Vientos for Liam Hendricks, sign me up. Sign me up.
Yeah, now especially.
And that's one thing they could do. They could DH Escobar, especially against lefties, because Vogelbach, he might be the DH against righties. He will not DH against lefties. Escobar did well against left-handers second half of last season, so he could be the DH, and he's going to be your utility guy. McNeil needs a day off. He plays second. Marte needs a day off. McNeil goes to right. Escobar plays second. Correa needs a day off. Escobar plays third. And you can do the same thing with Guillorme, too. So they just have that flexibility to do that. So I think Escobar, you see him DH a little bit. You see him at third a little bit. You see him at second a little bit. Outfield, if they don't add another outfielder, maybe you'll see Escobar in the outfield a little bit because he has done it in the past. Not great, but he has done it. So that's kind of the role he's going to have for now. Unless he fits the White Sox well also. So if it had to be Escobar for Hendricks, I do that as well. I think the more I think about it, I would really, really like to add Liam Hendricks to this team. I think it would just change everything because, again, like we talked about shortening the game, only needing the 5 innings, only needing the 6 innings, and then you can just go Hendricks, Diaz, Robertson, Ottavino, and it's game over. So it would just be so nice to have that luxury on this team. I would really like to add it. I don't want it to be clearly.
No.
I think, there was a report that came out from Mike Mayer, unless you have anything to add, Andrew. The Mets still want, one more bat, one more relief pitcher. That one more bat has to be somebody that can kind of play the outfield. So for me, it's down to pretty much Profar and Conforto. I think you got to get at least one of those guys to really finish out this bench, finish out the depth, DH, all that stuff. Everyone will find a spot, but I really would like another outfielder on this team that is not Khalil Lee.
Yeah. With the Liam Hendricks deal, I thought about this last night before obviously all the craziness happened. We were like, the big thing we want to do the rest of the year is going to be Liam Hendricks, not Carlos Correa. We've always said this year there was the A team in the bullpen and the B team, where it was Diaz, Lugo was every day, and then you had the backup crew: Trevor May, Michael Givens in the second half, Drew Smith. And we've seen, obviously, when you bring in 2 closers, and Liam Hendricks is a closer, we'll see how he were to be to pitch not in the 9th inning. My thing is, what if they, especially how deep this pen is getting, you could have an A squad and a B squad every other night. One night it'll be, let's say, Diaz, Robertson, Rayleigh. Other nights could be Hendricks, Otto, and then either, let's say, Dioka pops off or one of the kids pop off. You have 2 different bullpens, so you can alternate every day. Okay, one, it keeps everybody fresh. You're not burning Diaz 3 days in a row. I mean, there'll be times where you have to go Diaz, Hendricks, Robertson, or Otto, whoever the true 7th inning guy. Yeah. But to be able to spread it out, to be like, hey, you've got 2 elite closers who can get out to the 9th inning. You're not burning these guys, especially in April. Have every other day have a different closer. It's something to think about. Again, if you were to add Hendricks in this pen with Rayleigh and Robertson and Ottavino, look just the depth. We're talking about the best. The 2 of the top 3 were best closers in the game, and Hendricks and Robertson was great last year. Ottavino was outstanding. He's not going to do the same thing. And then we've made it clear that nobody else it seems like everyone's underrating the Brooks Rayleigh acquisition.
I think because a lot of people don't really know who he is.
Yeah.
He's not really as popular as a Hendricks or Robertson, Otto. I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised with how good Brooks Rayleigh is.
I won't be surprised if he's better than Aaron Luke was 2 years ago.
You never know. I mean, with that slider, with Hefner, they can do some great stuff. Pollock, he does hit lefties well. He does play the outfield. I think 35 is a bit of a risk. He's on the decline. When you want to talk about injury history, he's had a big injury history. I just worry about him. So he's not the guy I'd be going for. I'd be looking more in the Profar kind of category because he played left field all of last season for San Diego. So again, if you needed him to do that, he could, and he stepped up in the big moments. So he's younger. I'll buy 6 years, switch hitter. He's played the infield in his career. So I think Profar fits this team much better than Pollock does. Yeah, exactly. So Profar's got the versatility. And then, Conforto to Mancini. It's tough, though, because with Conforto, we really just don't know exactly what we're getting. He's missing a year coming back off of injury. He really may not be anywhere close to the guy he was. He's a bit risky. And Mancini, he had the bad second half, but I don't know. I feel like we have a pretty good chance of him bouncing back as a DH guy, a bench guy. And again, Mancini kind of plays the outfield. He doesn't play particularly well. So he doesn't really offer that 4th outfield versatility. So to me, I think Profar is probably the best fit. The Mets have had some interest in him. And I just think he'd be a really nice fit for this team. Even if it has to be a multi-year deal, like if it's 2 years, 3 years, I think he's at an age where he still can help this team for a long time. So he's somebody that's really high on my priority list.
Yeah, and how at least now how I'm looking at this like backup fourth outfielder, like I might even call it a fourth outfielder to an extent, like that extra bench piece. With Correa here, this doesn't have to be all offense first. Like when we were thinking poor Correa, Mancini was the guy. We had to get another guy who can potentially hit 20. Now with Correa here, and especially for a video we had to scrap because Brandon Drury had to get signed midway through that video. I think this last piece needs to be flexible and can play infield, outfield because, like, as the folk hero of Luis Guillorme, and fans love him, rightfully so. He's fun. He's got a nice beard. He makes a lot of meme plays. I don't want him to be the only backup infielder. And yes, I do. Would Escobar fill that? Yes. I just don't think Eduardo Escobar's on this team. Marino's tweeting out. Check out that Marino tweet about Correa's physical, and then see if it's anything worth talking about. I think that now, especially with Correa now, I don't think this next this bench spot needs to be as elite. I think now you can go versatility a little more than the power. If Conforto wants to come back, I'm all for it. But I think they need to go for a guy on that bench who can give you the infield, outfield depth of, hey, he can play short, second base, maybe play third base, and then the corners.
Okay, so a couple things from Marino. One thing, as far as the physical, it appears it likely pertains to his ankle. May have been an old injury concern or disagreement about how much future risk there may be. He has no other info. And then to add on, he talked earlier about the, Hendricks, McCann, Vientos being discussed. He also said some names out there is Escobar, who I've talked about a lot as a fit for the White Sox, if it's perfect for Chicago, and Joe Kelly could end up being discussed. They just haven't been mentioned so far, but teams believe their holes and strengths align up well if they were to decide to make a trade. So there you go. I mean, again, I think Escobar is a really good fit for the White Sox. I think he doesn't have as much of a role with this team. I think that right now, Liam Hendricks, with Correa here, Liam Hendricks helped the Mets team a lot more than Escobar does. So I think it'd be a good fit for both sides where you get Hendricks, you free up some money while adding some money, and you don't hurt any of your prospects. So you could trade Vientos for something else. I mean, if there is a starting pitcher, because that's the other thing, because we're going to have this really nice next couple of years, but once Verlander retires, once Scherzer retires, we're going to need a rotation. So, I mean, if you want to throw Vientos, and we haven't really talked about Mauricio yet today, but we talked about him this morning. But, those guys, that's where you're going to get your young starting pitchers to be here for a long time in your rotation. So if the Mets could get a Hendricks without having to give up Vientos, you could save Vientos for another pitcher. That would work out really well.
We'll talk about if Liam Hendricks. Yeah, Zach Green for me, didn't the Mets take a Rule 5 guy a couple years ago too, and he didn't end up making the team? So I get it, like, it's a Rule 5 pick. Like, unless this kid comes out and balls in spring training, I doubt he's actually on the Mets team, and they probably would offer him back.
Yeah, they have too many. They've just invested too much to take, like, I don't know, have Zach Green make the roster. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, when you add Otto and Robertson and Raley and Diaz, and if they add a Hendricks or a Chafin, that's another guy that they really like. I mean, I just can't really see them giving a chance on Zach Green and, like, risking it. Because I feel like the Mets, they probably want to actually win the division this year comfortably, rest their guys up a little bit at the end of the season, not have to play in that first-round series. The Phillies made it all the way without winning the division. The good teams make it. So I just feel like that could be something they're looking at. I find hard to believe that the team with this payroll wants Zach Green, have a pretty prominent role.
I mean, he's definitely, again, I think there's a world if he comes out in spring training and has that, he has an amazing spring. I think he's there. I think he can battle out Drew Smith. I think that's kind of the one spot where he can maybe beat out. And I wouldn't even be surprised if it was like Drew Smith and Eduardo Escobar for Hendricks. They can get a cheaper arm to replace Hendricks, and then obviously they get the second baseman less third baseman they need. What do we got here?
Yeah, and Mets, they've struggled against lefties for a long time, and Correa will really help them with that for a long time. So just even more so reason how he's a perfect fit. And that's why he was the guy that they needed. He really was. So, and SRF, I feel like he's going to be a guy that he probably starts the year in the minor leagues. If somebody gets hurt, then he gets called up. He's not a guy I really would want to have on the opening day roster. He's somebody that instead of having your RJ Alvarez's of the world or Robs and Shrimpsies and all the crazy pitchers we ended up seeing, that's where you have your Sean Reed Foley, your Tommy Hunter, and guys like that could be called up. So the Correa signing is a 10 out of 10. So, I mean, that's the way I look at it. It's great. I couldn't be any more happy. He was the guy I wanted the most. So I'm just so happy they did it. And also because, like, we talked about it last season, but this team, they didn't have too many guys with a lot of playoff experience. Lindor had some. Other than that, the hitters didn't really have much. Correa has the playoff experience. He stepped up at the big moments constantly, year after year after year. So I think that if you're in a short series and you need that one big swing at the end of the game, you feel really confident with Carlos Correa at the plate that he could, do that game-winning hit to really send you to the next level. So he's just such a perfect fit. That's why, to me, he's a 10 out of 10. And especially because you didn't have to lose any draft picks. It wasn't a trade. Like, the Mets signed Lindor for a long time, but they lost Jimenez in the process. At least with Correa, you don't lose anything. So it really is just like you couldn't ask for more, in all honesty. So such a great signing.
But yet we're still asking for more. We want more All-Stars.
Well, the Mets said they're not done. They said they're going to do more. So if you're going to do more, let's go. All right. So is there any other relievers, but let's say if they are not able to pull off the trade for Hendricks? I mean, probably if does he have his press conference with the Yankees yet?
I don't believe so.
He didn't have his press conference yet, so maybe. You never know. Until the press conference is made, nothing is official. But, so the Mets talked about they want one more bat and one more reliever. So if they're not able to pull off the trade for Hendricks, if Chicago says, you know what, maybe we ought to keep him, maybe they're asking for too much. Because Hendricks is a guy, as much as I want him, I don't want to do anything too crazy to get him. I'm not moving Mauricio. I'm not moving Murata. I'm not doing anything too crazy. It's it's Vientos, it's Escobar, it's guys like that. If it costs more than that, I'm done. I'm out of the discussion. So if they can't pull up the Hendricks trade, and what's up?
Would you move Matt Allen?
Yes, I would. I would move Matt Allen because the guy is just never healthy, and who knows with him anymore, honestly. Yeah. So if you're nominated Hendricks, what other relievers you like? Because the Mets want a bat and they want a bullpen pitcher.
I mean, obviously, the Chafe dog we've been banging this for 3.5 years. Every Mets YouTuber has been Andrew Chafin. And imagine having Rayleigh and Chafin. And I've made it clear I do want two lefties. I would love a second lefty in the pen. The fact that we really haven't, besides the Mets, heard anything about Chafin, the fact that nobody's been like, oh, hey, maybe the Mets have some. We haven't heard anything. Chafin, especially, he's now the best reliever on the market. He's better than the Hall of Fame guys who are washed. But he's now with Acevedo off the board. They're the best reliever on the market, and the fact that reliever market, you still have Reyes is still out there. I mean, obviously Knable's coming off an injury or whatever. We'd like him on a minor league deal. But the reliever market has been weird. You had Suarez and Mick Martinez and Diaz obviously sign above everybody. And now you kind of got a stallment with, Lugo off the
board. He'll be lower if he gets hurt again or if he isn't good. I mean, it's hard to
pull. He's pulled.
It's hard to be successful as you keep having injury after injury. I mean, his value just keeps going down and down. I don't want it to get any worse.
There has been 86 players of his same draft class that have made their major league debut, including 3 Mets. The dude is poo. He's never going to be anything. He's got made of Jacob deGrom syndrome. Made of glass. Yeah. But
when was the last time this guy made a start, even in a minor league game? It's been years.
He's got 12 innings of minor league season in 4 years since he's been drafted. And supposedly he's healthy. So you know what? I would love. I'll wait till spring training. If he's injured again, I've shipped him out of here about 90 times, if you know it.
Because the other thing about Matt Allen is that it's been so long that he's pitched. He still needs at least a year to even be major league ready. Yeah. And it's what are we waiting for? If you could get somebody like Hendricks now, or I don't know, time, whatever you want, just do it. I mean, I'm done waiting for the guy. If he gets hurt again, it's you'll never have gotten the chance to trade him because he just kept getting hurt and just completely lost his value. And that's how I'm playing with Vientos. There was a time where Vientos was a borderline top 100 prospect. He's not anymore. So they missed that opportunity when his trade value was really high too.
So I guess back to the bullpen. Guys, Chafin would be amazing. I just think that you're seeing some links now. MLB nerds. I'm not the biggest fan of him, but he's saying the Mets have had interest in Chapin and Hendricks. That seems to be the two guys that maybe that's who they got, and that would definitely be any way you put it, another high leverage lefty or the third best closer in baseball. You'd have number 1 and number 3. That's not bad. That is not terrible at all. But Taylor Rogers, if you want to go cheaper, again, a guy who has some closing experience. The 3-batter minimum, I don't know his splits versus righties as well as lefties. I know he's pretty good against lefties. I don't know his splits against righties. Lindor took him way deep in Milwaukee, but, besides the point. I wouldn't mind a Rogers. Don't touch Chapman. Don't touch Kimbrel. Don't touch those guys. Unless literally it's just a minor league deal with a AAA deal. If you want that, you can have that, but I doubt they'll take that. Then Knebel is the guy that's probably – because his injury, maybe you can get him on a minor league deal because he's coming off the injury in Philadelphia. He didn't pitch the greatest.
I'm not, even though Andrew's a big Bednar fan, I'm not moving Rusio for a reliever. To me, if I want to move Rusio, I want to be, if it's not for Ohtani, it needs to be for a young starting pitcher. That's the way I look at it. Because, again, position players were covered pretty good long-term. Pitching, we're not covered long-term in the rotation. No. So, for me, Rusio is being moved for a starting pitcher.
I love Bednar, but yeah. I mean, he's young and he's got a ton of years of controls, but Mauricio gets traded for an actual game changer.
Yeah.
Especially if you can get Hendricks now for cheaper. If they're just trying to shed a little salary
because again, it's like what I always go back to is the way that the Angels gave away Raisel Iglesias for nothing. So, and the Braves were such great beneficiaries of that. So why would the Mets have to give up so much more for Hendricks? I know Hendricks is better. His contract's a little shorter, but still, I mean, it shouldn't be that much more.
So I'm trying to think other big relievers that got traded. Robertson was for a top 10 guy. I'm just trying to figure out what other and especially because this is different because
Hader was the only other guy that had some team control.
Yeah, I think he went for a couple of pieces, but the Brewers, he was also making more money because he's gonna make a ton of money in ARB this year. He's making north of $20 million in arbitration this year. That's why they moved him. So again, if it's Vientos, it depends, and also the White Sox are the weirdest team is we don't know if they're trying to rebuild, if they're trying to semi-compete in that weak American League Central. They have a good team on paper. They're kind of like the Angels of the AL. They do have a good roster on paper, even though they lost They still have a solid rotation. Their bullpen is they put a ton of money in their bullpen, which may be why they're trying to trade Liam Hendricks. They've already put Graveman, Kelly. They have Boma. Aaron Bummer, they have Diekman, they have Crochet, Kopech's going back to the rotation. So if this is just, hey, they want to move a reliever for some money, I guess, then maybe it works in the Mets' favor. But if they want to try to improve their roster, I think Escobar does make sense because they can move Moncada to second and get some production out of him. They can move him, they could move any type of guy. They have Tim Anderson, who's a free agent after the season, but they still have Lou Bob, they still have Eloy. Andrew Vaughn can be a full-time first baseman now. The DH, we'll see if Eloy goes full time, but
Grandal is still there for now. But again, so that's why I don't know why the White Sox would be taking McCann back.
I think this would be. I think if any of the big contracts, it would be Escobar. I think McCann is going. It has to be
or Carrasco. I mean, maybe for the back end of their rotation.
I mean, they could take Carrasco as their fifth starter and then move Kopech in their closer role.
Yeah, maybe to replace Hendricks.
Yeah, they can do that.
They've got some 1 year, and
I don't. Yeah, McCann is not going back to Chicago. I would be shocked if he was a part of this trade. I think this is now Escobar, maybe Carrasco, Vientos, those kind of guys. I don't think McCann's going back to Chicago. I think McCann ends up in Chicago, the other side, north side, not the south side.
Yeah, because again, it's just if they still have Grandal, I don't know why they would take McCann as well. Unless they want him DHing again and playing some first base, maybe. But again, unless the Mets are willing to pay some of it, it doesn't make much sense. I think Escobar is a much more natural fit for Chicago.
They're just a weird team that they don't know what the hell they want. Do they really want to rebuild? Do they want to win? Because again, that division, anyone can win the division. Cleveland's great, but there's a world of Twins win it. There's a world of White Sox win it. It's just division sucks. It's just mediocre. Sorry. So I guess you want to go to the bat versions. I guess you didn't say who you wanted left. I guess reliever.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm pretty much the same area you're looking. If I'm gonna add another reliever, I prefer it to be a second left-hander if it's a free agent. So Chafin and Rogers are the two guys that make the most sense. At this point, we just talked like I don't care. It seems like the Mets don't care what the money is anymore. So you want to say, oh, maybe Chafin's too expensive, maybe Rogers. Like, there's no such thing as too expensive anymore. So I guess they're kind of just waiting out and seeing because, like we said, we haven't heard anything about either one of them. I mean, I haven't seen any teams linked to them, nothing. So I guess they're just going to wait it out, and the Mets are going to wait it out with them just so they can get a pretty good deal. So other than that, the other big-time relievers haven't really moved. And like you said, all those old guys, the Kimbrels, Chapmans, we haven't heard anything about them at all. So, and I don't think the Mets I haven't heard anything about Fulmer. Like, there's so many of these guys, we just haven't seen anything with them. So they still have time for that. I'd be more focused on the bat. I think Conforto is going to sign pretty soon. Mancini, maybe he signs with the Cubs soon. Profar, again, I think he has a lot of value, so I'd be trying to focus on him right now. I'd like to secure that. But other than that, a lot of those relievers are still available.
Yeah. And again, we keep saying this, and this is maybe us just being so naive. The Braves have something up their sleeve. Like, they cannot sit here.
They got Sean Murphy.
They got Sean Murphy at the, yeah. But, like, you can't just let Swanson leave. Like, as good as Sean Murphy is, you're not just going to let him leave. And, yes, they have Vaughn Grisham. I get it. Everyone else in that division, in this division, is better than the Braves. Like, you can make an argument on paper, not what's going to happen. On paper, the Phillies have a better roster.
Well, the Phillies beat them.
And the Phillies beat them in the playoffs, yeah.
When they had Dansby Swanson. And now they don't. And now the Phillies have Trey Turner. So the Phillies are better than the Braves right now.
So the Braves have to have some. I keep saying only Adames. And the fact that the Brewers haven't moved him is scaring me because the longer he stays, I think the Dodgers could pivot to him. I think the Braves could pivot to him. The Giants could easily pivot to him. Right. The fact that Adames is out there and he fits that Braves mold of the ball go boom.
Yes.
And he's good defensively. I get we're a Mets podcast. We have to be, it's not, as great as we're doing. Phillies just went to the World Series and got Trey Turner. The Braves have won the division, seems like the last 50 years. So I still I said this, I think I'm saying this. I still think the same 7 teams make the playoffs. I'm not concerned the Mets not making the playoffs. Personally, I don't really care if it's a division. Just get in.
Yeah.
Don't burn out in September.
Yeah, don't burn out. I think that's the thing that they went so hard. Nobody got any days off. They wasted so much stress trying to win that division that both the teams they were just absolutely they were gassed. The Phillies were just chilling, just playing loose and hitting home runs, and they were fine. So the Mets will make the playoffs this year. I'm not worried about that. We're pretty good without getting any bots, but just make it to the playoffs, and then let Correa and those guys do his thing. Correa's gonna get big hits for you. So if they could get one of those again, if it is Conforto, somebody just one more bat that maybe could have an impact for you. Maybe Alvarez can have an impact. Maybe Beatty's gonna have an impact. So they have some opportunities. And if you feel like at the deadline, Ohtani definitely is going to be available, and you feel like you still really want that one big bat and maybe another piece for the rotation as well. Maybe if you want Ohtani to pitch,
it does.
That's what also makes Ohtani such a perfect fit. That he gives you that one more big bat, and it gives you a young starting pitcher to have for a long time, which the Mets are going to need when Verlander and Scherzer are up. So Ohtani, I mean, he fits so perfectly. I mean, he fit perfectly on any team, but I would really love to get him.
And I'm not saying the Mets don't need to win the division. I mean, would it be nice to have an NL East banner? Of course. But again, I want a banner of World Series.
Yeah, I care so much more about the World Series division. I just want to win a World Series.
I mean, and would the Mets benefit to get the bye with their pitchers? Like, that's a discussion. Like, is that? But I'm not burning out. Like, we have to Scherzer and Verlander have got to go 7+ every start in September. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, if
which is another reason why I also like that. Which I also is why I like them getting Hendricks. Is that they would consistently be asking less out of Verlander and Scherzer. They wouldn't have to. There's just some extra bullets you could save.
I would be shocked.
Again, I think if Atlanta, the thing about Devers is that you're gonna have to sign him to a mega deal, mega deal. And if they didn't sign Dansby, I don't know why they'd be giving a mega deal to Devers, especially when they gave a huge contract to Austin Riley to play third base. So I just don't really think that's what's up, Moth, man. Hello. Yes, it's a great day to be a Puerto Rican Mets fan. That's for sure. Yeah, Liam Hendricks still hot. Because I mean, Correa is not a closer or reliever. So, and again, System S just gave up money. They didn't give up any prospects to get him. It's like, Hendricks. It doesn't prevent them at all. No.
I would.
Trevor Williams is a guy that gives you 4 innings, 5 innings. Joe Kelly's not going more than 2 innings.
Yeah, I mean, is Joe Kelly a good reliever? Yeah, I don't think now with Correa on the roster, Joe Kelly would be the name. And if it's not Hendricks, I would have thought Graveman would have been the name the Mets would have went for, not Kelly now. But we'll see.
Yeah, and I think if you keep Carrasco, I mean, you could do the 6-man rotation if McGill really shows you something.
Yeah.
I mean, they just have that's the good thing. That's a good problem to have right now. They have a lot of possibilities, whether that's with DH, with left field, with the rotation, with, the construction of the lineup. When you just sign so many players, so many good players, you just have, and we know they won't be in Sanford the whole time. We know that. And once he moves over, we'll see will Ramirez be a part of this team? Hopefully, if not, they'll just buy somebody else along the way. You know what I mean? Because we've talked about a lot that in a few years, they're going to have quite a bit of money left to spend. They're going to have a lot of money coming off the books. So if there's a center field that becomes available, maybe they make a trade for somebody. You never know. Like, a lot can happen.
And I'm laughing, like we've made it clear, like all the long-term books. The fact that there's Correa's numbers south of 30, the fact that Nemo's number is south of 25, we thought easily going into the offseason, Nemo was getting 25 million plus, and Correa's getting north of 30. He's getting north of Lindor, like 37 million. I get the term is law. But down the line, one, who knows what the state of baseball is, because we are getting a new TV deal in 2 years. MLB is getting this brand new, their rights for TV deals up. So we saw it in the NBA in 2016. Once the TV deal comes up, the money's going to be spent like a drunken sailor. Will the teams do it? No. Will Cohen do it? Yeah.
Yep.
And the influx of money into the game, who knows what $20 million looks like 10 years from now? That could be $5 million.
Yeah, I mean, the Nemo contract may age really well. Like the Correa number, it may age really well because, like you said, if guys are going to be getting $40 million, maybe even $50 million, who knows what Juan Soto's AV is going to turn out to be, what Ohtani's AV is going to turn out to be. All of a sudden, these contracts don't look that unreasonable, long term going forward.
Yeah. I give the Ohtani thing. Ohtani's not happening until July, guys. I get it. It's exciting. And would I put good money that opening day next year, Ohtani's a Met? I'd say the odds are probably in the Mets' favor if he's just trying to find the bag. I think the trade is happening in July, if it even happens, because the Angels do have a good team on roster. We say this about every year. They do have a very nice team. We look at their lineup, that actually the pitching it's okay.
We'll see what Senga does. Senga's going to be a really big – Senga's going to be a really important piece to determining where the Mets go. Because 100%. If he is elite and you have 3 elite pitchers, that's going to make a huge difference. So Senga's going to be a very big piece of this team.
And I still think they're going to add – well, obviously, I think that they'll add another start at the deadline. And hell, again, Woodruff – if Woodruff becomes cheaper than Burns, I think that could be a pivot point. But
yeah, I'd be perfectly fine with Woodruff. I'd love to get him. So, yeah, that's the thing. Like, a lot can happen, not only just with the Mets, but like I said, with all these other teams. Like, a lot of weird stuff is going to happen. That's just how baseball is. Some guys we barely expected, some guys not so much, and then values, they just fluctuate. So.
I know this is more fantasy, especially in division. But Sandy Alcantara is out here posting so many things on Twitter lately. Down the line, he's going to be.
If you want to talk about trading Mauricio, trading Matt Allen, trading everybody.
I'm not saying this is a guarantee, especially in division. This would have to be a free agent signing.
What I would freaking give to get Sandy Alcantara.
But the fact that if you look at Sandy's Twitter, he's always like every couple of
days. Eyeballs, hourglass. No. And the Marlins ain't going to pay him.
And the Marlins ain't going to pay him.
The Marlins ain't going to pay him.
So I doubt they trade him with the Mets. But down the line, we'll see. Like that, Zach Gallen, another guy I love.
Yes.
Going to be pricey. The Diamondbacks, again, another young team, look to be better. They're better than the Giants. They're better than the Giants. They're probably.
I don't count Arizona having a big year, so I definitely keep my eye on him for sure. And the Mets, they were linked to him before, weren't they?
Last year, when they went and got Bassett, his name was linked. It was him and Montas. I think it was like the link. And it was like, and I was like, Frankie Montas pissed off. Gallen? Oh, now you're talking my language. And but
Yeah, no, they
again,
said they're still looking for a bullpen arm in the bat. The Mets are not done by any
yeah, they're
means.
not.
I'm
I
curious to
mean,
see what happens with these trades. Like, hopefully they get, if they do trade a Carrasco for some young pitchers, maybe a young like prospect, the outfield or whatever. Like, we'll see how those guys turn out as well, and then maybe they get traded for something else. You could just have that asset that keeps becoming something else. I still I can't believe I'm just so happy it happened though. You know what I mean? Like, it's so funny because we were just talking about, oh, you know what? I wish they can get Correa. And then Correa signed with the Giants later that same night, where we see those reports that the Mets were linked to Correa, the Mets were interested in Correa. He signs with the Giants. Like, oh man, if only we could have had him. And somehow we still did. Oh my god, it's so good.
If I was the Mets right now, I would have him at the doctors right now, getting him cleared and get this announced officially. That's what I would be doing.
Have the press conference tomorrow.
No. I had that bitch on Christmas Day. I don't give a.
I can't do that. No.
No, it'll be
on Friday, maybe. Yeah, Friday. So who knows? But it's very exciting. It's a very happy holiday season for all Met fans.
Oh, and did anything happen in New York sports? Like I didn't realize that something was happening today.
Was there a different press conference for something?
Yeah, wasn't there a press conference today that like nobody cares about now because
was it arson?
Arson judge? I think it was arson judge. Sorry. Like, and here's a little thing, and who cares about captaincies in sports? Like, majority of the time, the captaincy goes to the best player. And, like, it's cool to, like, have it for the Yankees and Judge. They're not putting the seal on his jersey. They're not going to ruin that jersey. There's no way in hell they'll put that actual seal on the bench. They're not going to do that.
Why would he?
So, I mean, it's cool for Judge. Good for him. He got paid.
Yeah.
Got paid. Good for him. He deserves it.
That's like the only other guy. I mean, if we could be greedy. That's the only other guy.
And the best part is, you got Yankee fans out here being like, thank God, Hal and Cohen were like, please don't go after our guys. Imagine this.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Good time.
That's the thing. If the Sunbirds ever do something that pisses off Cohen, he will steal somebody they love. I don't know who, but he will steal somebody.
Jason Dominguez.
Yeah, God.
If he's not traded.
Nemo can't be center field forever, so get the Martian.
That second coming of Jesus.
Yeah, oh man.
God, that clip.
And that's the other thing too. The Subway series are going to be so much fun. The
two most hated people.
The atmosphere.
For Yankee fans.
I'm gonna go. I have to go.
Frank's gonna break the bank, bro.
I gotta go.
Frank, you gotta go to the home opener, bro. Drop like $4,000.
I gotta go this year. I didn't go to any games this past year. It was a tough year for me. But this year, I got to get out there more.
You want to talk about Stephen A's?
Yeah.
That clip was. I'm literally sitting there laughing about it.
I mean, it is true.
Oh man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, if they have to move Beatty for Ohtani, I'm kind of more so moving Parada. Because what's his fit? Like, I don't know.
I mean, the other thing with Parada,
I know he has athleticism to kind of play outfield, but
that's where he's probably end up. He's probably not going to be a catcher. He probably will be an outfield.
Yeah.
So
nice. That's a good streak off, man. Very cool.
I mean, I've said this about when they signed Beatty of like, I can't wait for the Kansas City. They're coming to Kansas City for 3 days. Mm-hmm. Now I can have Correa to list. Dude, I got like 9 Funkos I got to bring now to try to get inside. I got villages shit. I got to get stuff done.
They're just gonna come like with a big like luggage bag of stuff to sign. And just,
dude, I got like 9 Funkos. I got the Verlander and Alonso one coming. Like,
yeah, that was great when Stephen A. said that. That was so funny. Like, I love that man.
I love that man. I'm a Yankee fan, but I love that man. Oh, it's beautiful.
Because the Angels they're just they're weird. They're just not good. They get Ohtani, they get Trout, you do whatever. They're not good. They don't win, and they want to sell the team. Like, I just don't know what they're doing anymore.
I mean, hell, worst
change Trout at this point. Like, they don't win.
Think about it. Worse if you need to offload the money of Trout, just attach him to Ohtani and it'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We'll take Trout's contract to, make the Ohtani deal easier for them.
Easier for you, less money you got to pay.
We'll take the Trout contract. Don't worry about it.
And the funniest thing, we're joking. There's a world and a reality that could happen. Not this one. But there's a world.
At this point, nothing surprises me now.
Nothing surprises
me anymore. because I didn't even think we'd get Scherzer last year. We did that too. And it's like, and I forget that like Verlander literally just won the Cy Young. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's here too. Why not? You got Senga. Like Marte's still here. Diaz somehow came back for $100 million. We didn't think we had to keep Nimmo because it looked like everybody was going to get overpaid. Got him too. Got Quintana just because. Like Robertson, yes please. Acevedo again, okay. You know, just everybody.
Really, you're just like
just get everybody.
The saddest part is like I really haven't realized that Justin Verlander's a Met. And then bang, Correa's here. So you're like, okay, Verlander, forget he's in the back of mine. Oh, now Correa's a Met now. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Like
really, I mean, you really forget like just how good this team is. Like they got players everywhere now. Do they have a weakness? I guess outfield depth, maybe. That'd be the one thing that would hurt them is if there were some injuries. That couldn't be any team.
That's every team.
Injuries, but fully healthy, there's just a scenario where the Mets could do really well. If Alvarez becomes the full-time catcher at some point and Baty's a full-time starter in left field, 1 through 9, I mean, you got a great lineup. You have a good rotation on paper. You have a great bullpen. Where's the weakness? Good manager, like great owner. If they need anything, they'll get at the deadline. I hope it won't go cheap with the deadline again. So they got pretty much everything they need right now. Santa Steve, I like that. Santa Steve.
Again, we made this joke. Imagine a Giants fan. You know what, son? I'm buying you a Carlos Correa jersey for Christmas. That bitch is on clearance right now.
I know, poor Giants fans. Oh my gosh, that's brutal.
You did sign Mitch Haniger.
Did they get Mitch? I like Mitch, but that team looks drastically different now.
And you stole Jock Peterson from us. So,
I wanted Jock. Oh, I want Jock. That's okay. We got Correa. It's all good.
We got Correa. It's okay. It all evens out.
I know. Yeah, that's the only thing is that, and the thing is that like if the Mets are going to get your Otanis, get whoever, do it now. Do it before any CBAs. If the Mets want to be crazy, they got to do it now because and they're going to try to change the rules big time. They are really going to try to change some stuff. So whatever you're going to do it now where you can't lose anything. Like we already have him. You can't stop us there. We already got him. It's just like keep going.
Oh man, imagine.
Everybody knows Otani's going to DH every game. Exactly. And that's why Alvarez needs to be the catcher so that if you get Otani, he could be a DH. Like we want Alvarez to be the catcher because Alvarez at DH and having an automatic out in Nito or hopefully Narvaez could bounce back. Having Alvarez at catcher and you have a DH, like having those two big bats, it's great. So
it's still like and I laugh like there's a world where like Narvaez hits like 250 and it's like 15 homers and that's hitting your 9th spot. Like
he was an all-star more recently than McCann was.
Than James McCann, but
you gotta love having your all-star catchers.
It's just insane. Like I get it. It's just wild to think about. Like we went from Dylan Betances, Michael Wacha, and Rick Porcello being our offseason to Justin Verlander, Edwin Diaz, Carlos Correa, and more and more and more.
And more on the way, too.
And more on the way.
It might be just a little Liam Hendricks under the Australian Christmas tree or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? It'd just be great. And Alvarez has improved a lot defensively, and I think he's just going to keep working on it. I think he's fine. Alvarez is the guy I want to keep. Parada's the guy. We'll see what happens with him. He's still so young that who knows. Again, maybe he's part of a starting pitcher trade. Maybe he's part of your Gallon. Maybe he's part of, whatever. Woodruff. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you never know with Parada. So it's always good to have that just in your back pocket. And they're going to keep drafting. They got plenty of draft picks coming up. So they're just going to keep adding to their young system and have these guys come up, be a part of your team, maybe put them in trades. So things are going really good, short-term and long-term. That's definitely what I like is that they've done so much of this via free agency, not via trades. But like the Padres, they did a lot of their stuff with trades. So, they gutted their farm system. I mean, absolutely gutted. And the Mets haven't really done that. They got rid of PCA for Javi, but other than that, they've been pretty good. They've been pretty good with, and we prospect hog. We complained a lot, but all in all, we complained a lot about prospect hogging, but they've done a really good job of, having a good team and keeping young talent.
Yeah.
Always have to stop being cheap. You're right, Dan. I mean, period. I mean, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. I mean, just imagine, like, let's live in a
Well, just
fantasy.
love and whatever. We're chilling, guys. No arguing. We're all happy. It's the holiday season. It's all good.
Let's throw a hypothetical out here.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if the Mets did trade a couple of the prospects at the deadline last year. That we're not the best. We're not in the scenario we are right now. We're like, hell, you're expendable. You're expendable. You're expendable. Now you're looking at like if a Burns became available, we can pivot and say, boom, there you go. Here's Mauricio, or here's Beatty, here's what's it called, Parada, whatever. And you can do multiple trades now because now you've got a few. Plus, you're adding a shit ton more picks this year in the draft. If they can be a little more, I mean, the one thing, if I'm going to bitch about Colin, could get a little more aggressive in the international free agents. That's my last thing. Like, I like what we're doing in the draft. Obviously, I'm loving what we're doing in Major League free agency. Like, can we just maybe get a little more aggressive?
That's where a lot of the top players come from.
Yeah. Can we
really
find
do.
our version of Ronald Acuna? Can we find our like another version of Tatis? That's my thing. And I'm complaining. I have no right to complain. But as the prospect guy that I am,
that's one area they can improve. Yeah, for sure. There's always room for improvement.
It's just little things. And I get it. Yeah. Like, we went out and got to Senga. When's the last time the Mets went and signed a guy from Japan? Like, Kazmatsui?
It's been a really,
is that the last time? I mean, there might be another guy, but like, the fact that, like, Epler obviously has had the connection doing it. But, like, these are little things that, like, the little punts ain't doing shit. Yeah. Like, they do the draft, and then they'll go in the garbage bin. Here's your Travis Tyrone. Here's your Jason Pridey. Here's your Colin Caligo. Andrew Brown. There you go. Like, that was them. And then drafting Gavin Cicchini instead of Corey Seager, which that's the one first-round pick you regret of the Sandy years, but he did okay. Yeah, he turned at least every pick turned into a big leaguer.
When you look at like the best of the best in baseball, like your best players all across the sport, you have Bryce, you have Mike Trout, but other than that, a lot of these guys are international. Yeah. You know Machado, Ohtani, Soto. I mean, that's where you're going to get like the faces, like the best players. You're going to get them international. So that should be definitely something they really work on. And I hope that Epler, apparently, we'll see if they can do that. I mean, listen, if Mike Mayer tweeted, I think it's true, and it makes sense to me because the bullpen isn't like fully done. Because like we said, I mean, there's still some guys that aren't guarantees. Like I feel like the other guys that we have, Ottavino, Raley, Robertson, Diaz, they're about as close to guarantees as you're going to get when it comes to relievers. But when you're looking at Drew Smith, and even though these young guys have some stuff we like about, whether you like your Ridings or your Jeff Brigham or whoever, Deoka, like. They're not guarantees. So I could see the Mets adding one more relief pitcher. And then, again, the bench, there isn't too much going on outfield-wise. You would have to move McNeil to the outfield and put Guillorme starting or Escobar starting. So you could probably use one more natural outfielder on your bench or just another guy that gets some home runs on your bench. Just to, again, have that depth in case there's injuries, slumps, whatever. You really would like to have on your team. So I don't think the Mets are done quite yet. Probably one more power bat or just bat in general, a utility guy like a Profar. And then getting one more relief pitcher. And then I feel like they'll probably be done. And then the last things they'll work on is the trade with McCann. If they don't get a taker, they'll just release them and that's it. And then making some kind of trade for Carrasco. Or maybe they keep Carrasco and just leave him in the rotation. So we'll see.
I guess one thing about you saying the bullpen.
Yeah, it's probably these guys, Mike. I mean, I think this is probably the area they're looking at. This is the kind of tier. They're looking at the Hendricks trade, see what's happening. If not Hendricks, they'll probably pivot to a Conforto or a Pollock, a Mancini, a Profar. So that's what they're looking at right now.
I guess the one thing is like they're putting a lot of money in the pen, and we've seen it with bullpen guys, and you know how I've
JJ Putz and Francisco Rodriguez say hello. Oh my God.
JJ Putz, K-Rod, John Roush, Jerry's Familia the second time.
Ooh, no part. Interesting. I like Profile. Oh, what LB rumors say? What do we got?
Yeah,
I don't really believe that I count too much, but we will take a look.
Let's just see if it's anything of actual source. We'll see.
I don't know. There's like so many of these accounts. I don't know what.
Yeah, there's like so many. The one with like 4,000 followers is the only one I somewhat like give some interest to. But I get back to the fact that they've put up so much money in the bullpen is concerning because again, we've seen these teams that do it. Like everyone tried to copy the Royals in 2015.
Oh, Mets really like Profar. Is that the one you guys are talking about?
I guess.
Oh, so they also Mark Vance has brought up Mets like Eloy Jimenez also. Eloy would be a tough get, but anything is possible. Yeah, obviously Mr. Trey McCann, everybody knows that. He's confirming Marino. Mets really like George Profar. I hope so. I really do. I think Profar fits the team perfectly. Really.
But
again, if we play the Padres in playoffs again, at least Profar can't hit home runs against us and hit home runs for us against the Padres. So again, he's perfect to me. I would really like to get it.
But again, I talked about it. Now with Correa, the bat doesn't have to be this elite bat.
Yeah.
Give me the flexibility.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking more because again, like don't forget, as of right now, the subject's changed, but Ruff is still here, Vientos is still here, Vogelback, Alvarez. Like you have a lot of guys that don't have too many positions. They're mostly DHs or first basemen. So if you can kind of get a guy that fits a little more like Profar, that doesn't just play first, he plays left, plays the infield, switch hitter, can take the ball to defense, puts bat to ball. Like again, to me, Profar is a really nice. He's young, he's 29 years old compared to AJ Pollock, who's 35. Like. That's really where they should be looking at. I don't think the White Sox want McCann. He doesn't make sense for them. If anyone's moving, it's Escobar. It can't be McCann. I hope it's McCann, but it doesn't make sense for me. If they still have Grandal, I don't know why they would take McCann unless they're going to make him a first baseman. But still, it's like his bat isn't that good to make him play first.
I think we'll give guys last couple of minutes. We'll do a couple more minutes. Final questions.
Yeah, guys, what are your final questions? Or just one more. Everyone's in the stream. Thank you so much. Make sure you're watching Mets Weekly. We have our podcast every week. Videos during the week on the Mets Weekly channel. So make sure everyone that's here is leaving a like. You can get even more people in the stream watching now, watching in the future. Anyone who watched us earlier, we appreciate all you guys. The logjam at third, who's expendable? To me, I think the only guy who should be expendable right now is Escobar. I think we could wait on Beatty, let Beatty get some reps in left field, but obviously Correa is not expendable. So I think Escobar, if you want to keep, you can keep all three. You know what I mean? Like you can keep Escobar as a utility guy that plays him third, plays him second. You could keep Beatty in left field, or you can start him in the minors and keep Correa. So it doesn't really have to be a logjam. The guys who do become expendable, Vientos and Mauricio. Those are the two guys that would probably be the most expendable if we're putting them in that equation. Yeah, no, exactly. They're both gone, absolutely gone. So it's all good. I'm glad Joey Rodriguez, no more heart attacks. And then, given starting to show some good signs, but I'm totally fine with just having Robertson and Acevedo and maybe even Hendricks instead. So it's all good. Yeah. So if you can only get one, would you choose Profar or Chafin? Oh, okay, that's a good question. If you can only have one, do you have Profar or Chafin?
Ooh. I'm gonna go Profar just because I like that Rayleigh's here. Like if Rayleigh wasn't here, then it's a different conversation. Mm-hmm. I would love the second lefty, but you could maybe get away with maybe finding a Zach Britton for cheap as a second lefty. I mean, Chafin would be you would have if you sign Hendricks or trade for Hendricks or Chafin, you got one of the best relievers, best bullpens in the game.
I feel like even right now they have one of the best bullpens.
Right, yeah. So it's adding to the luxury. The Mets' desperate need for a backup, potential starting left. Again, we'll talk with Beatty. We'll see down the line. We'll get to spring training, and we got plenty of time to discuss what about Brett Beatty, his whereabouts in the next month. But I just like the flexibility of Profar to be that infield outfield. Maybe you can make Luis Guillorme a little appealing to the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, and I think the other thing about Profar that also works in the Mets' favor is that you could decline the team options on Escobar and Canna because Profar is a few years younger than both of them, and then he could be either your utility guy when Escobar is gone or your occasional left fielder when Canna is gone. So he just checks a lot of boxes. Okay, what do you think if Correa played second almost and move? No, you know why? Because Correa's going to play third in the World Baseball Classic. He played it well there last time. I'm sure he'll do it again. His body profiles as a third baseman, and that's probably where he wants. But I don't think he really wants to play second. We would love to be shortstop, but he'll do third because he's such good friends with Lindor. And it's like, why move? Why put two guys out of position? It's like leave McNeil at his best spot and then Correa at his second best spot. I don't put two guys in secondaries. So, what else we have? Yeah, no, it's true. You can never have enough relievers and have enough defensive backs.
Very true. So, all right.
Good afternoon. Yeah. All right. So, anyone got any final questions before we get out of here? What else do we got? But it's an exciting day, you know what I mean? Because Correa's here. Hendricks is maybe next, maybe a bat, maybe another reliever. So it's a fun time, really. It's great. It's just so exciting. You never know Mets are going to do something else big, and they've just had such a great offseason. This year is the cherry on top, I like the moves they made. I like that they were addressing the bullpen. I like that they were getting some starters and things like that. You get rid of McCann, adding Narvaez, but Correa was the one that's like, okay, now this team is quite a bit better than last year now. So it's awesome. A day a week at second. Yeah, I mean, this is probably going to happen. If Escobar stays on the team, he'll probably get, a couple. But Escobar, he'll probably play a couple times a week, whether it's at second or third, and McNeil, he'll play in outfield a couple times a week. That's probably, and that's fine. That's how it should be. Escobar, he shouldn't have to be an everyday player. I think he'll do perfectly fine as a guy that only plays every now and then. You could do a lot worse.
Yeah.
A backup for interesting to give.
We got enough of those guys. There's plenty.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're going to put Vogel back in the field.
Canna, Vogelback
first. McNeil could kind of play first.
Brett can play first. Beatty can go. There's plenty. Viento. There's plenty of guys that can play backup first baseman. Yeah. That's the one position I am not worried about finding on this roster and in this organization.
I think about Alonso played. Did he play like 161?
Was it like 159? Yeah, something. He almost played
something ridiculous. Yeah. And Alonso wants to play first. He doesn't want to DH. He doesn't want to come out of the lineup. So I don't think he wants to rest at this point. And Buck was really and I wonder if he'll change it up a little bit. Maybe give Lindor a little bit more days off. Give Alonso a couple more days off. Because it was pretty interesting that those guys played the whole season, and I'd want them to be just a little more rested and fresh for the playoffs because those two guys are so important to this team.
Yeah, Dan, we weren't coming for your head. There's just so many fat guys on this roster. You can find a back. We got plenty of backup first basemen for the Mets. The Mets have.
We know you've been our Mets support for a long time. We know that you've been on our streams countless times. So don't worry about what other people think. I mean, just what you do. Show them an old Mets Weekly stream that you were commenting in before the Mets were really good, and just be like, "No, I've been a Mets fan." So
no, I mean, and I have the best part. If anyone, you're a bandwagon Mets fan. I waited outside for Chris Capuano. Nobody can talk about me being a Mets. I sat through those days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I cried in 06. I cried in 07. I cried in 08. I have so many rant videos on my channel from 2019 yelling about Brody and Sandy and the Wilpons. So we ain't no bad ways. You can check the channel. We
got receipts. We got the receipts.
Exactly.
And again, Frank, we suffered through Alejandro De Aza. We deserve it.
He still brought him up. He got it in right before we're about to close out. He still brought him up. All right, and again, Yohan Lopez is gone, folks.
And Yohan Lopez is gone. There we go.
Baseball. So, I mean, that's just awesome. Wilpon the coupon, no more. Santa Steve, as someone else. I think it was you guys.
Somebody said.
Santa Steve. So, we'll be back. Let's do something else. Obviously, we'll be back. There's a video coming out this week, I think, from.
Correa's throwing everything on a loop. You'll get some kind of. You have the podcast on Sunday. You're gonna get that Sunday afternoon. You're gonna get that. Christmas edition of the podcast will be out. You guys get a little Christmas gift from Mets Weekly. Maybe a Hendricks, maybe me and this guy to my left. Maybe we record a video while Mets fans at the Knicks game. Maybe we record a Hendricks video. Maybe. Maybe we do that. But we'll expect maybe a Hendricks video. Obviously, the podcast on Sunday.
Thank you, Daniel.
Appreciate it, Daniel. Appreciate all of you guys. If you're new, drop a sub. If you already subscribed, make a burner. Be Kevin Durant. We're trying to get 1K. Hell, we're trying to get 1K by New Year's Day. So the challenge is on you guys. Tell your friends, Mets fans. Think about it. If you have a non-Mets fan, how jealous they're going to be of us. Every 2 seconds, we're going live. Another one. Here's another one. So, make the burners. Let's try to get 1K. We're about 850. You're new. Please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 1K by New Year's Day. That's all you got to say. We're getting the content. There's plenty of Mets podcasts out there. There are.
And if you guys didn't see our stream from 3 in the morning,
we're up at 2 in the morning.
We worked really hard on that. We had iTalk Studios join us.
Yep. Shout out to
iTalk. Awesome stream. So definitely be sure to check that out. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. If I don't see you guys again, Merry Christmas to everyone who celebrates it. Happy holidays to whoever celebrates anything else. And we'll be back soon on that next Mets move. So we'll see you guys.